it's not always about your job role. It's about you as an individual.
Young people do that because they want to see how far their social is willing to go.
We have to help these young people prepare for real life.
You know what? There's more to us than just kicking a football and just rapping.
Yeah.
As a black man, I can be educated. What are you saying, people? It's another episode of The Social Worker and the Mentor. Bro, that last episode was mad.
That's what I got to say.
Bro, the excellence in the room.
Nah, the energy was amazing.
Nah, but you know what though?
Yeah, mad.
We've known it for a long time, innit? And you know what? They are going to blow.
Of course they are.
Yeah. They are
Do you
gonna
know,
blow.
I like seeing, well, we both, I love seeing people win. I'm the sort of person, we're in a world where everyone can win. Everyone can.
That's what we want, you know?
What I mean, yeah, so, by the way, listen.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait, did you hear that?
No, did you hear that?
Guys, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah? You like, subscribe and share. Like, I don't get, bruv. It's free as well.
It's for charity.
We keep telling you guys, look, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube.
We're on everything.
We're on Apple, we're on Spotify. You know where to find The Social Worker and the Mentor. Just to
Yeah.
say, we've got so much things that are, there's a lot of projects that's happening that we haven't told you yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, there's loads of things
coming,
happening,
It's
yeah,
coming.
so-
Coming. Right. Now, people, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm excited. I'm gassed. Yeah, because I don't even need to introduce the person.
Nah, we got some podcast royalty.
We got
you
some.
know? Yeah.
What do you call it?
Royalty.
Royalty. That's
Royalty,
right.
yeah.
Royalty.
Yeah.
Sovereignty.
One of the front runners.
MBE.
Elegance.
Her Royal Highness.
Amazing energy.
Everything. Yeah.
Glowing.
Wow, what an intro.
Hey, the bag was a mad thing as well. You know?
Bruv,
Hey, he's in the bag,
bruv.
bruv.
I've never seen a bag like that before, you know.
Bruv, it's from Star Trek.
It's
Star
supposed
Wars
to be
thing.
from
It's mad. I like it though, man.
I've never seen a bag like
Hey,
that
listen,
before.
yeah, if you try to take her bag off, it should just conk you with the thing.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. So, without further ado, actually, let's bow the head.
Yes.
Would like to.
Yes.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. It is Audrey from the Receipts podcast.
Oh,
Amazing.
Hi, guys. That was a really good introduction.
we need to do it again.
I love it.
Listen,
No, it was perfect.
you see when elegance enters the room.
Yeah.
But not only that, just a lovely person.
Of course.
Oh, come on, man. Listen, I'm big on energy, you know.
Very big on energy.
And the energy is amazing today.
I was at your show, you know.
Thank you. Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Did you have a good time? Thoughts?
Listen,
Feedback?
No, actually, you know what?
Yeah,
That's
what's the
you know what?
feedback,
That's the
the
second
feedback?
show I've been to because I went
Okay.
to the one where at O2. I went to this one, Hackney Empire. Do you know what? It was amazing. Like, it was ram.
Yeah.
It was absolutely ram. And you know what? I don't know if you realise, social workers listen to you.
I do, because I meet a lot of them.
Yeah.
I meet a lot of social workers and they tell me that they love the podcast, and that makes me happy.
Do you know what? It's bad because what you're saying is like, I remember I was in a team meeting and one of my social workers was like, oh, do you know what? I was doing an assessment and I was listening to Audrey from the Receipts. Like, social workers literally, they tell me, they say, no, like, I'm doing an assessment, I might listen to Receipts, or I'm in the gym, I listen to Receipts. So you actually have kind of entered into our work, and it's good because I think so many social workers, because I've got to admit, the profession is very much a female-dominated profession, but there's a lot of black women in social work, and they all resonate with you and your experiences. You're powerful, you know?
I love that. That's dope. And you know, I know that that particular sector is very stressful. So it's really nice to know that people can get some respite, you know, just get some escapism by listening to us, because we're not that serious. So it's nice to know that balance, isn't it? Life is about balance. So that's dope. That's dope.
I've got so many questions to ask you, but I'll let you kick it off, man.
Music kick off,
Yeah, I'll let you kick it off. I've got so many questions to ask.
Okay, well, I don't even know where to start. I've got so much. questions
so
to ask
much.
You know. All right, so first of all, how does it feel in a live audience or people coming to see you live? What's the feeling like?
Do you know, it feels amazing. It really, really does, because the podcast is one thing, isn't it? And you guys know, obviously, when you put out content that's essentially free, it's easy for anybody to just listen to things and just consume your content because it's there and it's available. But I feel like with the live shows, that's when you see how people really support you, because now they've got a part with their money. So it's always so humbling, like,
That's amazing.
you know, knowing that people think that highly of you, or, you know, they want to see you, they want to see the show in a, live format, they want to see you. It's the best feeling in the world, like, especially now, like, money's hard to come by. So when people are willing to like part with their coin, like, it honestly, it means the world. And the energy is always mad. Like, we know our listeners and supporters and stuff are next level, but in the flesh, like in the room,
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter how big the venue is, whether it's intimate, whether it's something a bit bigger, like the energy is just always like on 100. It's lit. I love it.
And I think what Audrey was saying before, I've got like little cousins and nieces right here. They're like 15, 16. Oh yeah, you know them girls from the park. Yeah. What do you know about that?
Yeah,
Like, I think
it's true. It's true.
But I think what it is, you're two black women, but you're relatable. And
Yeah.
I think what it is well, we're in a time where sometimes things are just a bit too serious. And sometimes just take time, have a little laugh, have a little
Yeah,
joke.
100%.
It's true.
And I think that's what I love about you guys.
100%. Yeah.
So,
But also Audrey as well. I think like the line of work that me and Robert, we work with a lot of young people. We've worked with a lot of young men and a lot of young women as well. And it's about obviously being able to kind of like say to them, you know, who are like your role models. And I think when we do speak to them, it is nice to hear that they listen to podcasts, you know, like your podcast that you do with Tolly.
Yeah.
Because I think we deal with a lot of complex cases, do you know what I mean? And in terms of like a lot of young women, and sometimes they don't always have the guidance. And your podcasts, for them, is guidance. Because like when I think about your dilemmas, I think of it like it is social work, because as a social worker, you're dealing with cases. You're dealing with dilemmas all the time.
Yeah.
But they make me laugh, you know.
No.
Listen, I love how they bounce off each other.
Yeah.
Like Audrey been like, what? Are you, pardon?
But it's life though. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So I think of it like, you know, as a social worker, I'm dealing with these cases and it's dilemmas. And actually, it is kind of social work what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's real stuff that happens.
Definitely, it's just we just don't have qualifications.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, 100%. You know, it's life dilemmas, isn't it? I feel like it's 100% like linked in that way. And I guess there's an element of trust, isn't it? Like, you know, the fact that people write in, they must value our opinion in some way. And, you know, we always say, because funnily enough, in just terms of like connecting the two worlds, sometimes we do get things that are above our pay grade. You know, sometimes we do get things that are like, no, this is actually for a social worker. It would be irresponsible of us to even try and give any input. Some things are genuinely for the police. Like some things are genuinely for like actual qualified people and experts. And when we get those type of dilemmas, we will always point them in the right direction at least. But for us, it's important that we don't use people's traumas for content, because it would be so easy for us to just read the wildest things. And sometimes we do read wild things, but like really like life, like big life situations that are not funny at all. Like there's no humour in this whatsoever. We could use it for clickbait and get all the likes and stuff like that, but we don't do that.
Do you so how much control or how much input do you guys have? Because as you said before, we're in a time frame right now where things are very sensitive. You've got to be very mindful what you say.
Trust me.
So prime example, I'll just say this briefly. We done an LGBT episode and well, anyway, but so
I'm not gonna say
So, but the point is, like, you know, you got to be very mindful, and even when you try your best to be positive and you know, just say to the audience, you know, we want to learn, we want to send out like a good message, you know, like we want to learn as two black men. It's almost like, right, we're still doing wrong, you know. So, how do you deal with that? Making sure that, you know, you articulate specific subject matters, and how much control do you have in what you actually want to go out
and having the balance?
That's a really good question. I mean, we have 100% control over everything we do.
Oh, amazing.
The podcast is ours essentially. I mean, we are under the Spotify umbrella, but they don't really have control over the like creative side of things. But in terms of what you were saying about just being aware of like social situations and language and stuff like that, we try, like, the thing is, it's really tricky because you can't please everybody. Like, no matter how hard you try, like, I've seen so many examples where you can see people are trying not to get cancelled. They're trying to use the right terminology, the right language, and still it doesn't satisfy some people. And that's just part of the territory, unfortunately. Like, some people are just committed to being angry or misunderstanding you, and quite rightly so, depending on what their circumstances are. You know, people are angry out there, but I do think, like, if you have a platform, you do have a responsibility to learn language, because you're putting things out into the universe, right? So I think there's a certain level, but I also don't think there's anything wrong with asking for education and asking to be educated. Like, we don't all know everything, and if someone is more, and I love that you guys like dedicated an episode to those matters, because it's not necessarily your area of expertise,
Yeah.
but you want to learn. And I think that's the only way, just to ask the right questions, but to do it in a way that you're maybe not putting labor on people. But, you know, because some people feel really funny about that. They're like, it's up to you to learn. And there's only so much self-learning you can do, and without needing to be educated. But speaking to the right people, I think is really important. Like, I remember early doors, we used to say problematic things all the time. And to be honest with you, like, I think people get that they've seen our growth, because really and truly, if people wanted to go back and clip things, they could.
Yeah.
But there were so many things we said back in the day because we just didn't know, like we didn't have those words, we didn't have the terminologies. But what we like to do is self-correct. So if we feel like we've said something wrong, or we feel like we've used the wrong terminologies, used the wrong language, we will go back and address it and take accountability and try to correct it. So there's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, it's a journey. Like, no one knows everything. And it's just part and parcel of it, unfortunately.
One of the things that I like about the podcast as well is that there was I can't remember that American guy, the dating coach.
Paul C. Bronson.
Yeah. And what I like is that how the podcast is elevating is that you're getting people in with lived experience. And so I listened to that podcast and there's a lot of things that he was talking about in terms of trauma and in terms of relationships. And it resonated with me a lot because I just think about the work that we do. And actually a lot of the parents that we are working with, these are the things that as social workers that we're trying to help them to navigate because we know how it impacts upon their children. So when I was listening to what he was speaking about attachment theory. I was I learned that as a social worker student in university. So I like that, the fact that you're getting a lot of professional people with expertise who are coming in and they're actually giving real life advice. I think even before that, there was a lady spoke about domestic abuse.
Yeah, I remember
you're
that one,
actually building a lot of awareness because we know it's key issues within our sector and what we deal with.
Do you know, I was thinking about this the other day, you guys remind me of a music magazine, lifestyle magazine, if that makes any sense what I'm trying to say, right? So you're a podcast, but you're just so well rounded in the topics that you're discussing,
They're
right?
holistic.
So you're talking about dating relationships or parenthood or simping, single man, them, single gal, going raving, man meeting gal, all them things there, But you're articulating in such a safe space and a safe way. You're drawing the people in, do you know what I mean? Everything, So is that on purpose? I'm asking these questions.
I'd be a liar if I said it was strategic.
Okay,
do you know what I mean? Like, I would be a liar. Like, genuinely, Tolly and I are just ourselves, and I'm glad that it comes across that way. I'm glad that how we articulate ourselves and how we present ourselves is palatable and is in a way that everybody feels like they've got a seat at the table and everybody feels like they can have a piece of the pie, essentially. So it's do you know, I wish I could say there was some mad strategy behind it, but it really isn't. It's just, I just think it's really good synergy between Tolly and I. And again, we're a little bit older, so having the life experience, I think it gives you, you know, it puts you in a position to be able to like talk on these things because you've lived it. So I think that really, really helps. But is it intentional? No, no.
I'm gonna ask a deep question there, right?
All right, I've got a deep question as well. No, go for it.
All right, so, all right, I want to know mentally and emotionally, the Receipt podcast, pre-COVID, during COVID,
It's a very good question.
and now.
That's a really good question.
No, don't take it.
That's a good
Wicked question.
These are great questions.
Wicked question, bro. Wicked.
Yeah, do you know what? No one's ever asked me that before, so I've never actually really thought about it. Pre-COVID, we were on a high. You know, we were still fairly new to Spotify. So we were on that trajectory, brand new. You know, we've now got this big power machine behind us. We're so excited, you know. And of course, when COVID first hit, nobody knew the magnitude of it. You know, when there was little rumblings on the news, I remember I was still in my 9 to 5 at the time, right? And I remember everybody was like, oh, you know, this scare, this COVID thing, and we might all have to go home. And I was like, there is no way in hell our company is sending us home. That is impossible. It's not going to happen. Like, people literally have to be like hanging out of the building. The building literally has to be burnt to a crisp before people get sent home. So I just wasn't buying it. And every day there was rumblings like, take your laptops home because you may not have to come in tomorrow. You may not be able to come in tomorrow. And I never used to take my laptop home. Like I was just like, whatever. It's not going to happen. There's no way. And then the day that luckily I was in the office and they were like, today's the last day, everyone's gonna have to start working from home kind of thing. And I was like, wow, this is a real thing. So no one we didn't predict what was gonna happen. Of course, there were no measurements put in place for the podcast because we didn't know how long this was gonna last for. Luckily, Zoom became, massive at the time. And then we realized we were gonna have to start working, like recording from home. So yeah, it was really mad because we were so excited. I remember like Spotify were going to send us to Coachella, like all expenses paid. We were so gassed, and then COVID hit, and obviously it was all cancelled, and we were just fuming. So it was, in terms of podcasts, it was tough because there were loads of opportunities, like live shows and loads of things that we had in the pipeline that we weren't going to be able to do. So yeah, so that was very disappointing. During it, it was tough because I feel like I give my best version in person in the studio, and we had to record on Zoom, and everybody did. All content creators had to really get creative and get busy and think about ways to like execute their content, right? And I wasn't feeling it. I feel like none of us were. We all had different Wi-Fi levels. And it was like, my Wi-Fi was low. Do you know what I mean? Signals low here.
No, I know.
I had a crap mic.
Mine was bad, bro. No,
do you know, I didn't even have like a Mac at the time. Like Tolly and Milena both had Macs. And I had my PC.
Don't tell her, bro. Don't tell her.
And like they were like, "Girl, you're gonna have to go get a Mac because this ain't it," kind of thing. And I had to like go with my mask, go buy a Mac out of nowhere, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is frustrating." I'm a PC babe.
Nana.
Yeah.
Are you two related?
Possibly.
Might be,
And then
Bloody
it was so tricky. It was so annoying.
I'll let you tell her.
Yeah.
I'll
And
let
then
you tell her.
afterwards, Spotify were like, "Oh, we want 2 episodes a week from you guys. Do you think you can do more?" We're just like, "Oh my god, really?"
Yeah.
So it was a weird time. I mean, obviously so fortunate. Like I'm not going to sit here and complain and make it sound like I had it hard. Like people were still working, and doing like really like laborious jobs during that time, and I'm just complaining about having to record once a week. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't the best. Like it wasn't the best time. And then as we started to emerge, I was like, thank God.
When they lifted restrictions.
Yeah.
But what about mentally?
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, your mental... Can I jump on the back of that?
Yeah.
'Cause I was going to say, Audrey, that with what Rob's saying, he's right. But in terms of like your mental health and physical well-being, how is it you manage that? Because your podcast is massive. You release content. You've got the shows. You're a parent as well. I saw your daughter Anaya and your husband as well.
Amazing.
But how do you navigate in this world where the demand is absolutely massive for you?
Do you know what? I was yabbing on and on about Max, thinking and forgetting that actually a massive thing happened during COVID. Like I was going through my separation with my husband at the time. And so my mental health was shot, actually. Like it was completely shot, like most people. But I just felt like it was doubly like stressful because not only am I going through this really like big life-changing situation, I can't leave the house, I can't socialize. We weren't even living together, so I was living by myself for the first time in my whole entire life, apart from uni. And even in uni, I'd lived with housemates. But this was the first time I was living by myself. I've never lived by myself before.
How was that?
It was such a hard adjustment.
Seriously, yeah?
It was so hard, because I feel like had I had the luxury of still being able to socialise, it might not have felt so heavy.
Yeah.
But
Have an outlet.
I wasn't. I was just in my house, and madly, what got me through it was Clubhouse.
Yeah. Clubhouse was a one, you know.
Clubhouse legitly got me through my days.
Yeah.
Like, if Clubhouse was not a thing during COVID, I don't actually know what I would have done.
Yeah.
Because it felt like there were always people in the room with me. Rooms would go on from morning to night. There was always something popping off. Then it started to get messy.
Yeah.
And it really, really like
Very messy.
kept me in check. So really and truly, like it's mad. I've almost like compartmentalized all of that stuff completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mental health was not in a good place because of my
Did you find,
situation.
because remember, I suppose at the time as well, I suppose to a degree that the pod was actually like an outlet
100%.
to sort of like
100%.
vent and talk and get things out. And, you know, obviously no one knows personally what's going on with you, but it was your way of just like, I'm going through shit, man. But
Yeah.
they don't need to know what I'm going through, but I need to just talk.
Yeah, 100% it was therapeutic because one, I knew I was guaranteed to like, obviously everyone's always speaking to their friends and stuff, but it was just something to do as well, something to just break up the day. And it just helped keep my mind productive, you know? So it really was like therapeutic, 100%, yeah.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, Audrey, is that with the podcast, you've done absolutely brilliant with it. We've spoken, myself and Rob, we've had a lot of professionals who've come on. and we speak a lot about kind of like, you know, inequalities and discrimination. In terms of the podcast world and the world you're in, have you experienced that despite your success, you know, being a black woman, you know, you've progressed up and you in a lot of arenas, but that level of, say, discrimination, inequality, is that something that happens where you are in terms of your sector?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I feel like you can't escape racism and sexism. Like, you just cannot. It's just, it's still so deeply embedded in media. Like, it doesn't matter across all platforms. But yeah, definitely. I feel like for us, it's always, well, let me speak for me. It's always been like an imposter syndrome kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Just being in spaces and feeling like, oh my God, am I supposed to be here? This feels weird. It feels like above my remit. But yeah, it's there. And sometimes it's hard for people to understand it because they see the highlight reels, isn't it? They see like the successes, but no one really knows what goes on behind closed doors. But I feel like, you know, I think it's there more so with money. I think men still tend to do a lot better in the podcasting world.
You think so?
Yeah, definitely. Because originally it was very much like a white male space. You know, it's only now podcasts that we see see it now, where everybody's realised that actually you can just start your own thing. You don't need to like wait for permission to do it. But originally it was old white men doing it mainly. So yeah, I feel like it's always going to be hard for that shift, for that transition, and a lot of the people that hold the purse strings are still white.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And there's still a lot of like this idea of having to prove yourself to them and like sell yourself to them. And you can have
That's the word.
You
Proving
can have
yourself.
all your number. You can have all the numbers. You can have all the likes, all the subscribers. But there's still this thing of like, show us why you're worth it. Show us, you know, and people will constantly try to undercut you and not pay you what you're worth and look at you like you're crazy for asking for certain numbers. But I feel like change is happening, and it's happening because, you know, we're all in this space now. And it's too hard to ignore people. Like, it's way too hard.
Listen,
but yeah,
last week Sunday I went to Shinks and Gigs.
I was there as well.
Oh my God, listen. I sat down, I thought, right, is this a 50 Cent concert or is Jay-Z here?
Ram.
Or I was like, huh? This is a podcast.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was shocked, you know? But I thought, wow, this is inspiration.
It is.
Those guys are
They're doing brilliant,
inspirational. Like, truly, to a podcast who sell out the O2. And it wasn't like,
it was
you know, sometimes when you go to a concert and like they black out like it wasn't like every seat was taken, like the nosebleed seats, everything. Like it was completely rammed, the floor seats, everything. They absolutely
they smashed it, man.
Like, they really have got the cheat code for this podcast.
Yeah. And the thing is, what you're saying about imposter syndrome, we can relate, because I think when we first started the social worker and the mentor, when we initially began, because obviously we work in, at the time, we're still working in local authority, there was a point whereby, you know, the powers that be didn't want me and Rob to do the podcast because they felt that actually, because we work for the local authority, that we need permission from them to actually record. And I remember when I spoke to Rob, I said to him, I said, Rob, you know, we might have to stop, you know. And he was so angry. He's like, no. No one's going to say us,
you know,
anything.
It's completely outside of work.
Right, exactly.
This is it,
But this is why we work, you know. Because they'll be like, wait, but what are you talking about? Are you mad?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. It's our money, you know.
It's our money, that we're pumping into it.
We're pumping into this thing, you know,
And it's not like you're recording it in the office.
This is it.
This
is it. So then it's like, it's only until later on where it started to get a bit more traction, because it was like, you know, it's a podcast, it's two black men, professional men, we're talking about something that's affecting us. And they were like, actually, oh, you know what, we want to buy into it. And that's we were like, no, because we shouldn't have to prove ourselves. And at times throughout the podcast we do, people still question our professionalism and our knowledge. Like, even though like we've got 30 years between us. Do you know what I mean? So
I want to ask you a question, and it kind of like ties into.
I've got a dilemma for you, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah,
so do I.
Yeah. Go on.
Well, more of a question anyway. But so your podcast, absolutely fantastic. It's well documented that there's been a change. It's a barrier, you know, and you know it's also a journey. And sometimes in journeys, you know, it doesn't always go pitch perfect. So how do others learn from maybe a breakup or a change on podcasts, and what is the best way to deal with barriers and challenges in podcasts?
Yeah, that's another really good. Oh, you guys are really on.
Another thing already, man.
You guys are on your Oprah shit, man.
Yeah.
This is good. No, that's a really good question. I think with podcasting, with anything you do, there's always going to be a journey. There's always going to be a story. It's never going to be linear. It's never going to be perfect. And I think that's the one thing I've taken from it. You know, at the end of the day, it's tricky. Like, everybody's perception of what they want is different, you know?
Yeah.
And for us, we've been through a few lineup changes. Like, we started off, like, really and truly, if you want the real team, we started off as a 5. Like, before,
It's a lot, you know.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a football team.
Exactly. And now looking back,
Power League, bruv, innit?
that would have been
NBA.
Yeah, that would have been too much. But even before we dropped episode 1, there was 5 of us, and then the 5th member, shout her out because we're still good friends of her to this day.
Fantastic.
She just was like, do you know what? Actually, I don't think I want to go down this route. I think I want to concentrate. She was a singer. I want to concentrate on my music, and she left before anything even popped off. So that's like some fun tea. Like, there was actually 5 of us. Then there was 4 of us, and we were a 4 for a good couple of years, you know, before Phoebe left. And then when Phoebe left, it was a similar sort of thing. I think no one anticipated what this was going to do. Even myself, you know, I think Tolly was the only person that was like, yeah, no, I'm going to make this big, just by the nature of her personality, her work ethic, how she doesn't really do anything unless it's going to be amazing. That's the kind of person she is. So she had the mindset from day that it was going to be this. I had my 9 to 5. This was a hobby. Like, it was something that I was doing on the side. And I think same with Milena. I think we didn't really have any expectations for it in the beginning. So so when Phoebe left, it was just like, you know, this isn't for me. It's getting bigger than me, and this is not really what I signed up for. I don't like being visible, because we started doing live shows around the time, and we completely understood it's like, it's not for everybody, you know. And that was all very amicable. It was fine. She left, and then we went on for another 6-7 years as the 3.
They've been around for a minute, you know,
Which is a really long time.
Us man are babies, you know, bruv.
Which is a really, really long time. So it really annoys me when people try to like undermine it or diminish it. They forget that actually we were a 3 for a really long time. Like 7 years is no joke to like work as a threesome kind of thing. But I just think it's just one of those things that you just everybody should just manage everyone's expectations.
That's right.
At the end of the day, like, as much as you're a team, you've got to remember that they're individuals in these things, and people, you know, people change their minds about things. People have new outlooks on what they want, and you just have to find a way to respect it. But also, like, you're not going to do anything that's successful without trials and tribulations.
Yeah, that's right.
Nothing is going to be seamless. And for me, like, I used to like be really like aggy about it and just really get emotional and like hurt about the situation. But now I've realised, like, now being on the other side, I've realised that actually it's part of our story. And like, for it to have gotten here, we needed to go through everything that we went through, you know? So every podcast, it doesn't matter what you do at the end of the day, like, if you want it to be successful, you're going to have bumps in the road, and that's just what it is.
I just want to ask, I've got a dilemma. So, it's a social worker, got a heavy caseload. Her partner has booked a holiday for her on a Friday. And that Friday, she has an interview for a job, where potentially could be promoted. Should the social worker tell her manager that she's already got this holiday booked with her partner to fly out, but it means that it costs her being interviewed for that role? Or she told her partner that actually, I've got an interview, we need to postpone it, but potentially it causes issue in their relationship. What should the social worker do?
Ooh, that is so tricky. Do you know what, honestly, if the chances are really high that the promotion's going to happen but she's already in this role and it's a chance to be promoted, so it's not like a whole new company. Sheesh. I'm not going to lie, there's always a way around these things, man. Like, I don't see why there isn't a world in which she can do both. Okay. Can the flights not be moved to later on in the evening? You know, because it's like, what, £75 to change a flight? I would do that, you know. But then again, you've got the hotel and there's all of that stuff. But no, honestly, I would find a way to make it work, to make both work, because I don't think in this situation you have to make a choice. I feel like most things are never absolute. Like, there's very few things that are like absolutely 100% yes or no. I would do everything in my power to see if I can make both happen. Can we move the flight later? Can we move the flight earlier? Can we make the interview
Organised.
early?
Yes.
You know, because I feel like that way, that also, like, if I was the boss and, you know, the employee said to me, do you know, I've got this holiday, but I really want to make the interview. I've moved my flight times. Please, like, is there a way that we can, like, readjust the times?
Yeah.
I would actually see that as someone that's, like, efficient and initiative, like, uses their initiative.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I would do. And if that absolutely was not an option, like, say the flights, you couldn't move them because there's no more seats or whatever.
Mad.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I would still go on the holiday.
Okay. All right. We heard it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I think I would still go on the holiday.
All right.
Yeah.
We got to wrap up, but I'm going to bring you into our world now. So we work with a lot of young people. All right. I want Audrey to be a 16-year-old girl right now in 2024. In fact, no, Audrey in 2022 to 2024. What would Audrey be like in today's generation of social media and girls snap at each other, the TikTok, Instagrams, YouTube? What do you think you'd be like? How would you manage it?
God,
How would you deal?
If I was like how I was when I was 16, I don't think this generation would be good for me.
Okay.
Woo-wee.
Yeah.
I really don't think it would be, because I know like I come across now as like confident and stuff like that, and I am, but all of that stuff has come with age.
Yeah.
Like back then I was insecure, but like a normal teenager insecure.
Okay.
I don't think it was like anything deeply concerning, but I was very insecure. I kind of just kept myself to myself.
Okay.
I wasn't really like, you know, I wasn't having relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I was a geek. Like I was a proper full on.
Okay.
So a 16-year-old Audrey in 2022, 2024. I don't know. I also think that like your environment shapes so much of who you are.
100%, yeah.
And I was like, I grew up in Essex. I grew up in like predominantly white areas.
Right, okay,
so I don't know what I'd be doing. Like, I probably would be on social media and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that I'd be very insecure.
Okay.
You know, I think that I would be really, because I used to compare myself so much to other people back then.
Yeah.
I used to like pedestalize people so much. I used to like look at, and now I look back at these people, I think they're so basic.
No, I hear you.
What was I doing?
I hear you.
You know, so I'd probably be, I think I'd be the same as how I was back then.
I hear you. You know what? I want to thank you so much,
No,
Audrey,
my pleasure.
for coming
Amazing,
onto our podcast. It's been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Honestly, it's been so brilliant to have you, just your experience, your knowledge, and really kind of getting to hear just, you know, how you're able to navigate. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
No, thank you guys. Honestly, this is such a dope platform. I always like big it up and, you know, post it and stuff like that as much as possible, because it's so nice to just have Black men talking about things that are actually benefiting society. Like, we've got enough about first dates and, you know, body counts and all of that stuff, but this is actually like moving
Audrey, thank you.
culture forward.
Yeah,
you know,
thank
and
you.
it's really, really important.
Yeah.
I remember like one of the first times I posted you, and everybody was just like, "Oh my God, Black men that are, like actually talk about sensible stuff." It's such a shame that that's the stigma, but honestly, like what you guys do is probably far more important than what I do, because you're actually like educating people and changing like the perceptions, like the negative perceptions. So thank you. Honestly, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to
Appreciate
be
it for
here.
that.
But guys, I don't need to tell you where to find.
I'm everywhere, guys.
Everywhere. But don't forget, to like, subscribe, and share to the social.
Know the thing already.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, thank you.